Cooper Norris Cooper.
And I'm Marcy.
We are the Watchers in the Basement. What up, everybody, ladies and gents, boys and girls, dogs and cats? We are covering Landman episode 4 through 6. So, we want to get back on this because so much has happened over the last 3 weeks that we want to cover. Marcy, what was your thoughts overall just over the last 3 episodes as far as the pacing? How do you like it? What do you like? What don't you like?
Yeah, I think the pacing's been pretty okay. We did just 4 was a little bit slower for me, and then 5 ramps it up, and 6 I thought was great. We got to see just kind of more of other characters like Monty and Cammy, but then we also got to see Tommy and Norris kick some ass. So I've been enjoying these last 3 episodes that we've been able to see.
I have too. I really enjoyed. It seemed like the show is called Landman, but I feel like there's been more scenes of the show off the war rigs and like more so dealing with relationships and like the wife and Ainsley and is it Amanda?
Angela, the wife, the ex-wife, yeah, Angie.
Uh-huh. Yeah, it's more Angie and Angela than anything, and I don't know. I just feel like we talked about this the first 3 episodes. How the women on the show just seem like ornaments on the hood of a car, like just show, and we're not really getting depthness with these characters. And even with the lawyer, I feel like with her, they make her out to be the stone cold bitch, and there's not really much layers to her either, outside of her being cutthroat and being like this masculine, like tough character. I complain about the nuances of the female roles of this show so far. What do you think so far?
I agree with your assessment. Again, we talked about how just kind of Angela's a bit of a hot mess. And it seems like she'll be on the show for a little bit longer now that she and Tommy have decided to get back together again. We did see more depth to her throughout 4, 5, and 6. We learned a little bit more about their relationship. She told a story in episode 4 when they were at the bar with Kayla and Tommy, where he took her to Vegas and he was going to have George Strait like play a private concert for her. And then how they ended up just kind of losing everything. And that is pretty much what led to the demise of their relationship and their marriage. And you start to see more vulnerability from her. So like a little bit more depth. You understand a little bit more maybe why she is the way she is. But, still I hope to see more as the season progresses, as she's dealing with more issues. Obviously kind of being cut off from Victor, who is her rich husband, dealing with the fallout of Cooper getting attacked pretty much. So just wanting to see how more she can grow as a person and more depth that they can show us from her, from Ainsley as well. Again, we did see more of the insight as to she really wants her parents to get back together and just kind of like has that nostalgic feeling whenever they do get back together. She seems very happy about it. Whereas Cooper, again, tells her like, you're not old enough to remember what they were like when they were together, which I thought was just like pretty brilliant because it does show how 2 siblings, even growing up with the same parent in the same household, like your experience can be vastly different. So again, wanting to see just kind of more depth and just more dimension to these female characters other than just they're hot or they're a hot mess or, they're just kind of like you said, a stone cold, a bitch lawyer. So that's what I'm hoping to see.
Yeah, I feel like the show it makes it really easy to not like the wife, to not like Angela, and I'm trying not to put her in the box so quickly, but I'm hoping that there's payoff to her character as the show goes on in season 1 or maybe going to season 2. But she just seems like a very shallow character. Like when you find out the reason why the oil boom or the economic downturn of the oil business going down, and Tommy losing everything, and for her to leave
Mhm.
and to like date marry another rich guy, well, marry a rich guy and Victor, it just aesthetically it looks like that she just was just in it for the money, right?
Yeah.
And I'm trying, and I'm hoping there's more to her character than just that, right? Because Ari Lauder, I mean, Miss Lauder is a great actress. Like she's
Mhm.
really fun. I hope that Sheridan really showcases the opportunity to give her more depth um,
Mm.
as a female lead in the show. Um, but like you said, the more I watch Tommy's family dynamic with his family, the more I realize the oil rig business is the one thing that does give him calm.
Yeah.
As crazy as it is, the detrimental accidents, death, wrongful claims, working with like peace treaties with the cartels and like all these other entities that he has to pay off or like maintain his relationships with. It seems like he finds solace in that from his own family, and that's the weird thing to me that a guy it seems like he's addicted to the rush, and he knows every single day that he goes into the office, um, the unpredictableness of the day is what brings him calm. But
Mhm.
like when he comes home, it's like the stress level goes up tenfold. Whether it's dealing with his daughter in boy shorts around 55-year-old man, or when it's dealing with he's coming home and like the wife has bought 50 grand worth of furniture in a company house that's not theirs. It seems like the norm and the solace is the oil business for him, and everything else is a distraction. Am I kind of on the button with Tommy's character so far?
Yeah, I mean, I think one of the least stressful things that he's had to do in this show so far is like cut off the tip of his pinky with his pocket knife. He's like, like whatever, like I don't give a shit. It's gonna come off anyway. And then again, like dealing with the crazy wife and the daughter and everything else. I think you're pretty right. Like the oil business and being the landman, and that's what he knows. That's what he can be good at. That's what he can excel at. He may feel like he can't be good at being a father or a husband because like he said he's an alcoholic, he's $500,000 in debt, right? Like those are his shortcomings, but when it comes to like getting the job done, being the landman, that is like where he actually excels. So it's probably why he seems more at ease there.
Absolutely, absolutely. So dealing with the fallout from the Orrick accident, episode one, Rebecca Falcone is in settlement proceedings with the family, and like the lawyers of the company. I guess with the defense to figure out who's at fault for one, and how much money should be awarded to each family member of the or person that got killed in the accident. And I will say this: I love that scene because it showcases more of Rebecca's personality. Like she really cares, right? Like she's not just a conflict at fault lawyer just trying to find loopholes to blame somebody and get money. She really wants the best for these families, and you see that reflect strongly in this scene where she's talking to the lawyers of the defense and trying to get them a good deal, and they make some type of like lewd comment about her her gender and how green she is, and she just goes left, and she does it so eloquently and intelligently, while simultaneously getting the best deal for the family, um, and partners at hand. And I love that scene because when I see it, when she first jumped into the scene, I mean we talked about it in our first podcast. I was like, is she here to screw over Tommy? Did Monty hire her to screw over Tommy? Because it looked like they were just trying to find somebody to take the fall. And for her, she's really looking, to do the right thing, not for the company, but also for the people involved. What were your thoughts on Rebecca in that scene, during, with the settlement and everything?
I think that really solidified for Tommy that she wasn't going to screw him over because that was his concern and Nathan's concern as well, right? They're like, she may be out here to like find fault and it's probably going to be pinned on you. You're going to be the fall guy for the company. So that was kind of a concern that Nathan had that he expressed to Tommy. He's like, do whatever you need to do, sleep with her, I don't care, just get her on your side. And I think Tommy was able to see that, right? Because she also defended him when the lawyers were like, well, that was a road that, the truck company, the driver was able to drive on that road. And because he was driving on that road and had that accident, your company is liable. Like, you shouldn't have had like your plane that got stolen, but then only the FAA knew. So they were just, again, trying to really pin it on not just like MTEX, but specifically Tommy. And that's when she was like, no, like, and she brought Tommy in and was like, hey, did you let them use this road? Yes, I did, but only while there was like other things going on. After that, like, they didn't have any more permission to be on that road. So she showed Tommy that she's there to protect him, but also just kind of, again, he'd asked her, like, how old are you? And just kind of making like references about her just being like really young. And then that's when I think she showed not only like the opposing counsel, but also Tommy that, like, yeah, I'm young, but I can kick some ass too. And I think that really got her on like Tommy's side of like, okay, like, I can probably trust her now. Like, let's go have a beer to celebrate because I can trust you.
Yeah, I agree. Going into that scene, I wasn't sure about Monty. I wasn't sure if Monty was
Mhm.
just trying to find blame and keep his hands clean and sacrifice Tommy as the sacrificial lamb. But seeing that and like seeing who Monty hired and seeing how she operated as a lawyer to making sure that both sides were protected, it gave me more. It gave me more. I guess not caution, but like I understand Monty a little bit more. It gave me more relaxation towards Monty as far as like who he is as a person. Because like
Mhm.
again, we haven't seen Monty and Tommy at this point in the same room.
Right.
Monty's I think is in Fort Worth and Tommy's way in the Permian Basin and Midland. They haven't been in the same room yet, so it's kind of hard to read how they view each other. I mean, outside the phone calls back and forth about Tommy reporting to Monty about what's going on, how can they fix it, how can they move past it. There hasn't been much dialogue as far as like, okay, Tommy's a GM, he's the boss man of this multi-billion-dollar company, but how do they view each other as men? And
Right.
and I think the last episode we got that understanding when Tommy and Angela go to his mansion in Fort Worth and he talks about everything that's going on with the cartel and how they're going to rectify it. I mean, I guess it gave you better understanding too. Prior to that, when Monty let Tommy use his country club pass for his wife and daughter as well, but I needed to see that, and I was getting to a point. I was wondering, are we ever going to see them in the same room? Because
Yeah.
like I'm like, are they? Can it not afford John Hamm to be in actual scenes with Billy Bob outside just phone calls? But I think that scene was very very telling because it seemed like Tommy was at home. It wasn't like and like even with Demi Moore's character, Monty's wife, how he introduced him. I mean, how he asked him to come in and make food and all that. He's oh no, not this time. Like I was like okay, so he's been here before. They had dialogue,
Yeah.
they know each other on a personal level. So seeing that, I needed that question answered to see what is the dynamic between Monty and Tommy, and is it more than just a work relationship? And it seemed like it is. What did you think about their relationship so far?
Yeah, I think they've alluded to this a little bit, and probably also just some of the things I've read online is that Monty and Tommy just kind of came up together in the oil business. Things went right for Monty, they didn't go so right for Tommy. So that's kind of like that kind of like conflict, below the surface. But like, how how do you kind of handle, again, like, working for somebody that was your friend and you were like peers and probably equals in the field, and now you're working for him, and right, like, you're worried that, again, you're going to be the fall guy to whatever liability they find that the company was in. And then having to go to his house and just kind of see just how Monty's living, how that could have been you, but it's not you, right? Like you live in a nice house because it's the company's house, right? So I think there's that kind of conflict. I don't know if we'll see more of that and just kind of how that rubs Tommy and just kind of again the dynamic of their relationship. But yeah, it feels like he is comfortable not only with Monty and being able to like speak truth to power and like tell it like it is to Monty and not be just kind of like, you know, not wanting to be truthful because it's like, oh, this is the boss, I have to tell him what he wants to hear. But also with Cammy, right? Like you get the sense that they were friends or, you know, had been friendly. So I'm glad we got to see more of her as well. And I just want to see more of what they can do with that character aside from just having her swim and welcome people into her house. But she does a great job of playing like a rich, you know, Texas lady. I think she's been doing a good job so far. Definitely have known a lot of ladies that speak and act just like her.
I just hope they use her more than just a swimming pool sipping martinis type of gal. I mean, Demi Moore is a very established actress. I mean, we got to get more of her acting chops outside of just her being like the trophy wife. Like, I feel like if you're gonna just have a trophy wife character, you would just hire somebody who is lesser known than the Demi Moore, right?
Yeah.
So,
And I think
I
it's
hope,
interesting. Oh, sorry. I was just going to
no,
say
go ahead.
it's interesting, like the two differences between like Tommy's ex-wife and like how outrageous she is. And then like you see Monty's wife, like she's more subdued, she's classier. So even the way that Taylor has written this, right, it's kind of like showing you the difference and like the quote unquote different classes of them, right?
Absolutely. And I mean, and we're still not really clear on like Tommy's financial situation now, as in
Right.
present day. Like we know that he lost a lot of money. It cost for his divorce. The kids, Cooper, and they went with Angela back to wherever they came from in Texas. It seemed like he's still because he's sharing a big ass company house with two other men, and the other man is going through a divorce as well. So it's not really clear on like how well Tommy's doing financially, and I hope we get a better idea. Hopefully this season, maybe, of how
Yeah.
how they're doing. So
And then also like how that maybe creates a conflict or the dynamic that that will be now that he and Angela get back together and seeing as how like yeah she got to keep her Bentley and I think it was like I forgot how many like 200 $300,000 that she had in her checking or her savings account but that's pretty much it. Otherwise, she didn't like make out like a bandit in her divorce because she had engaged in adultery. And Victor was very quick to have his lawyers there and be like, you know what? Since you kind of you nullified this prenup because you engaged in adultery, so you can keep your car because that was a gift, but everything else you had to give back aside from whatever you have in your checking account. So it'll be interesting to see like how are they able to keep that money that she's got and keep it as a little nest egg or how is that going to work now that she's leaving the lap of luxury and kind of getting back together with Tommy and we don't know what his financial situation is.
yeah, and not just that, she spent 50 grand on furniture for a company house. Like that's not for her ex husband. Like
Yeah.
that's wild. But I mean, for Victor to have the lawyers already at the house waiting for her, and kind of lets me know what kind of marriage that was from the onset. I think I think Angela has a particular set of skills of being a trophy wife. Enjoy that, and they know what it is. So it's going to be interesting.
And I mean, she even said like the only reason she married him was because of Ainsley, because she needed to have somebody to take care of her daughter and kind of have that money. But I thought it was also interesting that he is going to pay child support for Ainsley until she turns 18 because she's not his biological daughter. So I guess we are to assume that Tommy maybe had not been paying child support for Ainsley because she was living with Victor. So like that maybe paints a little bit more of a picture. Like maybe Tommy wasn't paying child support maybe Angela felt bad and was like, I'm not going to put you on child support. You have no money. But also that he wrote a letter to her, and we don't know what the letter says, but I'm wondering if it's just going to be something along the lines of, hey, I love you because you're my stepdaughter, but mom had to go. So I hope that we get to see what was in that letter that Victor kind of sent for Ainsley.
Yeah, it seemed like the love might have been one way because Ainsley is she's so like ready for her parents to get back together, and
Yeah.
she doesn't really talk about or reference Victor at all when she's talking about her dad and her mom possibly getting back together. It's not like, well, but what about Victor or
Right. Yeah.
so much for us. It's more so like, oh yeah, my mom dated this guy named Victor. He was married to her, but like now she's back with my dad. Like it was nothing. There was no type of emotion that triggered her with this potential breakup between Victor and her mom. So
And that also made me wonder because obviously we have to assume that Cooper also lived with them when, before he went off to college. So I'm wondering, did Victor pay for Cooper to go to tech or, was he there on scholarship? I don't think it was FAFSA. Victor probably made too much for Cooper to qualify. Or was Tommy like paying for tech? I'm interested to know like who footed that bill for Cooper to go to tech and then not graduate, like drop out just before graduation to go work in the oil fields. And it hasn't been going great for him so far.
I need to get more backstory on like why he did what he did as far as like dropping out of college. That's
Yeah.
yeah. Hopefully they circle back to that. But speaking about Cooper, let's talk about his story so far. So after that tragic accident, he's back working on the rig with a new team, with Boss's team. And Tommy visits the rig one day, and he's looks like a kid with the training wheels fresh off. He looks like he's part of the system. He's figuring things out, and then something happens. One of their teammates gets their hand crushed, and Tommy has to spring into action now. It's like, damn, it's like, and I get it. Like, I'm starting to understand now with the oil rig business, like just the hazard
Mhm.
nature is just prevalent, right? It's gonna, like, it's almost like mandatory to like have these accidents happen because it's such a high risk job. But I'm starting to think is Tommy just bad luck? I mean, not Tommy Cooper. Is he just bad luck?
Cooper.
Everywhere he goes, something happens, like to somebody on the crew or everybody on the crew. But like, yeah, Cooper's teammate is like moving. It's like rearranging the chains on top of the rig, and his hands get caught. Boss and Manuel and Cooper spring into action, and Cooper, who has never done this particular job, Boss tells him to do it. You'll figure it out. You'll learn as you go, and they're able to pretty much save this guy's life outside of his hand, possibly being gone. Um, what were your thoughts about that scene? And like, do you think is Cooper just bad luck, or is just this the job? Like, what's going on with things going wrong, going bad with Cooper around?
Maybe he is, and maybe that's why Tommy lost all that money because of Cooper. He's bad luck. No, I mean, it's probably just the nature of the job, obviously. And Taylor always wants to make us really see and understand the danger of, working in the oil field, just like he, liked to show us how difficult it was to be a cowboy in Yellowstone and just kind of show us all of the things that could go wrong there. So, I think it's just, again, like one of those scenes to make us see how dangerous it can be. But also, like, I thought maybe after that they were going to be like okay with Cooper, right? Like they can be like, okay, like we had some beef before because you've been talking to Ariana, but like, we're going to be cool now. Like it's going to be cool. No, it is far from cool. Even though he like helps save your hand or your arm or, whatever, Antonio.
Yeah, it's they're not very smart. The Manuel and the cousins of the victim from the first accident. Like, this is Tommy's son. Tommy runs like the day-to-day operations. He's the GM of Tex
Yeah.
of Tex Oil, and like he runs everything. Like, why would you fuck with his son? And it goes to another scene where they attack him. Right? This is the first attack. They try to like beat him up, and like Manuel pulls a knife, and Cooper beats them both up. He's like, "Hey man, the next time you pull a weapon on me will be the last time."
Yeah.
And this is prior to the accident of his teammate getting his hand crushed. So I'm thinking, okay, things are good now. He helped save this guy, could have killed himself, but then later on in episode 5, Ariana is struggling with the death of her ex-husband, and she's trying to figure everything out as far as like the bills, the money, like how to pay for things, because she never had to do that kind of stuff. He had the husband had everything on auto pay. He took care of all the financials, the 401k, all of that, and she doesn't know who to call. So she calls Cooper, and Cooper comes over there. He helps organize some of the bills. Like, hey, this is an auto pay. Hey, this was paid up 3 months in advance. Don't know about that. Gave her kind of background information on the 401k. And I mean, we saw this from a mile away, right, from episode 3 of like a potential love interest between John Smith and Pocahontas, right? But
oh geez, yeah.
It's like it's cringy, not because of like who they are, but the situation, right? Like it's just it's very we talked about this in our first part about this show, but you see the love interest, the love between them budding and blossoming between them. Especially Cooper doesn't want anything from this woman; he just wants to help. Like that's just ulterior motives with Cooper. So after organize the bills, he starts cutting the grass. He's just trying to find things to do. Help out. I think he cuts down a tree in the back or cuts down bushes. And as he's cutting the front yard, Manuel pulls up. He runs up on him and pulls a gun on him. And Ariana's in the house. She comes out and she's like, "Hey man, you gotta stand down." And pretty much paraphrasing, like, "Where the fuck was you when my husband died? You didn't offer to help me. You didn't offer to help me organize the bills.
Yeah.
You didn't offer to cut these grass. You didn't offer to change a diaper. What the fuck were you? This man is here to help me out and do right by me." And he's like, "Oh well, he just wants sex." And he's like, "Oh yeah, well I might give it to him." And she just slobs him down. At that point, Marcy, when she slobbed him down in the front yard in front of Manuel, I was like, he's gonna get beat up. He's gonna get jumped.
Yeah. Duh, like we could see that coming a mile away. Yeah, I like you said, Cooper doesn't have he's not after her for sex, right? He wants to help. I think he feels maybe like survivor's guilt that like he's the only one that like made it out of that explosion. So I think for him it's a lot of survivor's guilt. Like he seems like he's just a nice, good guy. So he definitely wants to help because he knows she's in a really tough situation. I think they said she's only 22, her baby's a few months old. LVO pretty much like made good money, and so she didn't have to work, and now she's wondering like, okay, like now people are telling me I have to get a job and I don't know like anything about these bills because LVO took care of it all. So I also don't think that she's also after anything. Like at first I was concerned. I was like, oh, like are they going to make her out to be like some kind of gold digger, right? Like want to portray her that way. And I'm glad that they seem to not be doing that, right? Like she genuinely reached out because she was like overwhelmed and like, hey, I just need help. Like, I don't need you to give me money. Like, I just need you to help me with like making sense of all these bills. So I think like the intentions are not shady so far, but yeah, it's danger, Cooper. We talked about this last time. We were like, we don't like it. We don't like it. And then we see why, just because yeah, you got your ass beat. Like you almost died because you're trying to help out this widow.
Yeah, it was a tragic ass beating too. Like 4 guys in this trailer, like just beat him to a pulp, and kind of leads into episode 6. Like, and episode 6 is probably my favorite episode of the series so far, because for me it showed. So we've seen 3 sides of Tommy so far, in my opinion. We've seen problem solver Tommy in the heat of high stressful labor situations that he's able to get shit done. We've seen father Tommy as far as like how he interacts with Cooper and Ainsley, And then now we've seen Gangster Tommy in this
G.
episode.
Tommy
Yeah,
is a G.
man, Gangster with a big G. Yeah, and like you see, because like I think for me, I wanted to see more of the fatherly connection that he has with Cooper, and we haven't really we've seen him with Ainsley a lot with the daddy's little girl, and he kind of bent over backwards to make sure she has what she wants and all of that kind of stuff. But with Cooper, he's been more involved with the rig than actually face to face with Tommy throughout this whole time. And with now Cooper in the hospital with a collapsed lung and all these different bruises, he can barely speak. He's in a bloody pulp. He had brain. I think he had swollen of the brain. He's pretty beat up, and I think when Tommy gets to the hospital, he's like, you see like how distraught he is, but he's trying to keep his workman hat on, right? But once he sees his son in that hospital bed, the fatherly instincts kick in, and Cooper back and I love that scene because you saw what Cooper saw in his dad. Like, please don't do anything. Let me handle it. It's not gonna look good. You defend it for me. And Tommy just pretty much just said, "Fuck that. You're my son. You're my kid. Like, my job is to protect you. You know what I'm saying? Like, I put you in the care of guys that I trust to look out for you, to mold you, to train you, and to have the guys that I run do this to you, stuff to my face." And I love how you rectify that throughout the end of this episode. Let's talk about Tommy, man, and like how he handled that. What was your thoughts on that, and was you surprised seeing that element come out of Tommy?
I don't think I was surprised, one, because we know it's a Taylor Sheridan show, so we know somebody's going to be like kicking ass, not giving a shit. But yeah, like you mentioned, like Tommy had to be strong not only for Cooper and for Ainsley, but also like Angie, right? Like she called him and she's like, "Hey, I'm sitting outside of the hospital. Like, I don't know if I can, like, I need to mentally prepare myself for whatever I'm going to see when I get in there." So her like waiting for him so they can go in together and like she doesn't have to face it alone. Like he knows like he's got to keep it together for like all of them. So I think again, like just seeing him, like you said, like fatherly instincts kicked in. And he's like, no, fuck that. Like it was Manuel and Antonio. Like who else was it? And then he was just ready to kick some ass. And, I think it's like a great, Rip and Lloyd moment, right? Like Tommy and Dale are like new Rip and Lloyd where he's like, hey, like we got to go take care of some business. And Dale's like, I'm with you, like ride or die. Like you tell me what my plans are and that's what we're doing. So, that's our little bromance, I think, of the series.
That's a great example. That's a great parallel with Rip and Lloyd. I definitely see that. And also with that scene or leading up to that scene, you kind of see how influential Tommy is with like law enforcement. Like,
yeah,
he's a powerful dude. Like for him to tell the sheriff of Midland, like, hey, get there 10 minutes after I get there. Like, and it wasn't a request. He told his motherfucker, no, I'm gonna handle this the way I handle it.
And the sheriff is like, yes, do you, boo?
What you gotta do. You know what I'm saying? And it was, for me, that was an element of surprise because when you watch episode 1 with the cartel scene of the truck being blown to bits and the dead bodies and everything, Tommy's there and he's pleading to the sheriff like, hey man, I did put this report in. He's pleading to him and like it looked like the sheriff was running point on everything. It wasn't Tommy telling him, hey man, like I submitted the order to FAA about what was missing. It was more of the sheriff running point. So when you get to this episode and you see Tommy like running point on this, like, hey man, this is my fucking son. I'm gonna handle this the way I handle it. You get the 10 minutes. You get the 10 minutes after I get there. And for the sheriff to kind of like just abide by that and not give his head a nod of approval shows me that not only Tommy runs this shit, but his veteran leadership is highly respected, especially amongst officials in that town. and it makes me wonder how much more influence does he have outside of just the sheriff's department.
He's in his John Dutton era where I guess like he tells the sheriff how it's gonna go down, right? And the sheriff was just like, just leave enough for me to arrest. So and also I think, right, like with the whole like plane crash, like you're dealing with like so many other agencies too, right? Like FAA, DEA because of all the drugs, like maybe feds coming in. Like with this, it's like, okay, like this is just like a kid that got beat up. Like we don't have to deal with feds or anybody else. Like I don't have anybody else to answer to. I'm the sheriff here, so like take care of it the way you got to take care of it because we don't have anybody else that we got to like worry about. So yeah, I think it shows like how influential Tommy can be. And like interested to see like what more we can see of that. Like who else is he gonna like fuck up? Like let's do it. Like I'm kind of interested.
Yeah, me too. Me too. And another thing I want to expound on too, going back to the hospital scene. Ainsley walks in with Ariana to see Cooper, and again, more sibling bitterness between Cooper and Ainsley. And Ainsley, I mean, they have beef, but like Ainsley cares about her brother clearly. Like she's there because she's concerned. And Cooper just has like this, like he said something to the effect like, "Oh, you here?" Like something about like, "Aren't you missing like an STD infested party or something?"
Yeah,
Like,
she's like, I missed my first patch party because of you. And he said something like, well, I'm sure there will be enough chlamydia like the next time around. So very like very Beth and Jamie type of dynamic as well. So
but
Taylor's really like leaning into like all the like tropes he used in
yeah,
Yellowstone for Landman for sure.
well, we have to get an explanation why they don't like each other. Like, there's so much animosity. And there's an
Yeah,
age difference. Like, she's 17. He was a year from graduating from college. So I'm assuming he's 21, 22, somewhere
yeah.
around there. Like, he's clearly the older sibling by 4 or 5 years, but yet or 5 years. But there's so much animosity. I don't know where that comes from.
Seems to be more than just regular sibling
Yeah.
rivalry, brother sister type thing. Yeah, I also wondered that. I was like, what is it that went down? Maybe it is just that Cooper had to see so much being the older kid and like seeing the effect of like their parents' marriage deteriorating and like, the Tommy losing all his money and just seeing his dad just be an alcoholic. So I wonder if it might just be like his resentment as to like, you didn't have to see what I had to see because you were too young to even like notice or even remember. So I'm hoping it's just that. I'm hoping it's not like something crazy like Beth and Jamie type of like trauma, right? So, because they're like pretty young,
Yeah,
to have like that kind of trauma.
absolutely. Um, about Ariana, like I love this is a great Ariana episode, I believe, because again, she feels a lot of guilt for what happened. She feels like she's the reason why it happened, which most likely is for the beating. But she shows up like as a girlfriend should and would,
Yeah.
even though not officially girlfriend and boyfriend, but like she shows up to the hospital. She's concerned. She kind of puts two and two together. Like that's the family of
Mhm.
Cooper, and her and Ainsley kind of talk and just a little bit, I guess. But like Ainsley asks him, "Who are you?" To Cooper, and she's like, "Oh, it's
Complicated.
complicated." But like I found it weird, like as even when they walked into the hospital room together, there wasn't like much of an introduction, like of who she was. And when Tommy shows up, Tommy and Angela show up again. There's not Tommy knew who she was, but like there wasn't much explanation. Tommy didn't ask, Cooper what she's doing here, but he kind of just put two and two together, like, hey, just be careful, this, that, and the third. Do you think? And it looked like to me Tommy received her well.
Yeah.
I didn't see any animosity between Tommy and Ariana. Do you think that relationship is gonna be positive moving forward? Do you think Tommy is gonna like accept her and like welcome her into this crazy ordeal with family? It looks like it's heading that way as far as like the connection between Tommy and Ariana. I mean Cooper and Ariana.
Cooper and Ariana. I think like his concern also was like protecting her, right? Because he like said that to Cooper. He's like, hey, I don't know what's going on, and you're saying nothing's going on, and that's fine. But just kind of like remember, like, she's in a world of hurt that you can't understand at this moment. Her husband died. She is a young widow. Like, just be careful there. And I think, again, he was saying that not only to protect Cooper from like more potential ass beatings at the hands of Manuel, but also like, hey, like, be careful with her. Like, she's been through a lot. Do not just kind of like hurt her. So I think he's just going to be protective of her. Um, it's yet to see like how their relationship, how Cooper and Ariana's relationship progresses. But I did like that she didn't hold out on the sheriff of like saying who she thought like hurt Cooper. I like that she wasn't like, oh, like, I don't know what's going on. Like, I don't want to get myself into it if I tell you it was Manuel and then Manuel comes after me. So I like that she like stood up and was like, no, it's like Manuel and this is why he did it.
Yeah.
So like I loved that. I loved that it wasn't just kind of like hidden and like the sheriff had to do like more, detective work and investigating as to like who did it and why and what
Yeah.
were the consequences.
No, I agree. I think her unveiling that off the rip just shows me how much she cares for Cooper. And
Yeah.
how grateful she is for Cooper. Because if Cooper wasn't there, she would be even in bigger financial shambles because she has no idea what she's doing, post LVO's death. So, and on top of that, she just doesn't fuck with Manuel. she just
Yeah.
loathes him. Like like there's a pure sense of loathing
Yeah.
between Manuel and Ariana, more so on Ariana's part. 'Cause
Mhm.
like I said earlier, like when she needed family or people to help her, they didn't show up.
Yeah.
It was more of an ego thing with Manuel than anything else. So
Yeah.
I'm glad she tore off the rip. That's I mean, and for me, I think it unlocked a depth of a female character in a Taylor
Mhm.
Sheridan universe that we just don't see a lot with female characters um,
Yeah.
in a Taylor Sheridan show. So who would have thunk that a 20-year-old female actress would probably have the most depth to her more than Demi Moore, more than Ari Lauder
Yeah.
uh, in this show. So
Good on you, Taylor. Like, you're growing, I guess.
yeah, I want to backtrack a little bit too. I know episode 5 we glossed over a little bit, but the cartel is they're pissed off. They lost a lot of money. They get
Yeah.
millions of dollars. I think they said close to 20 million or 30
Yeah.
million
Yeah.
in drugs that got burnt up, and they're blaming Tommy and they're blaming the oil company to pay all of that. And Tommy, again, and this is why I say I folks with Tommy so tough because there wasn't an ounce of fear in his face when he said what he said. He's like, bruh,
Right.
this is on you. You stole
Yeah.
my goddamn airplane. You roll on the road that we pay for, and you show your fucking drugs. So you tell your fucking boss, we ain't paying for shit. And
Yeah.
again, boss and the clique are behind him. They have no idea what's going on. As the cartel is driving up, for the first time, Tommy tells him, "Hey man, make sure you have your pistol on you. Make sure you record it, bro." Like they have no idea what's going on. So all of a
Yeah.
sudden, there's so much fear in the rest of the group. Something tells me, man, that this is gonna be an ongoing thing for the duration of the
Mhm.
season of Cartel.
Yeah. Yeah. And then like I messaged you also. I was like, what if Victor is like connected to the cartel? Apparently, like that's not it, but that was like my wild
That would be
theory of like,
crazy.
that would
Yeah,
have
that
been
would be dope.
insane if like Victor was part of the cartel, but his name is like Victor Ramsey, so it seems like he'll be like a white guy, not a cartel guy, but who knows? Like maybe he'll still be connected to like
It
some
could be
kind
a
of
front.
like exactly, right? But yeah, I definitely think that's going to be an ongoing thing. Um, does that mean that maybe more people will be hurt maybe now by the cartel like wanting their money? We saw a scene where like boss was at home with his kid, so we know like boss has a kid that he would that they could hurt to get back at MTX. Obviously, Tommy's got kids that could get hurt. So it's yet to see like how the cartel reacts to pretty much being told to fuck off by Tommy.
It just seems to me that the cartel's not very smart. Like you stole you stole like government government a government plane for the most part that's protected by the government and FAA. You stole this plane, you transported drugs on a stolen plane, it's not yours. You are using a road that you sold to the oil company, and now you want your money back? Like that makes no sense. Like this is your fault. And then again, Tommy told him episode one, if you fuck with us, we will drop a bomb on your family in Mexico. We will destroy everybody you ever loved. This is a multi-billion-dollar business. $6 billion a day. Like, bro, y'all can't. I don't care how long your money is cartel. Y'all not fucking with oil money. So it's,
Yeah.
and I think this is gonna be like a dick measuring contest between the cartel and the oil guys. And if it becomes that, the cartel's gonna lose. Like they don't have that kind of bread or that kind of artillery. And between the FAA, the DEA, whoever the oil people have on payroll, they can't fuck with them. It looks like a lopsided battle off the jump to me.
True, but there are a lot of people that think the DA is in league with the cartel in real life, and probably they think in the show. So it's yet to see like how does that play out. I mean, I wouldn't want to fuck with the cartel. So like Tommy definitely has some balls on him to basically tell him to fuck off. But yeah, like I'm interested to see what happens. And then like how much that involves Monty more. Like, is that the reason we may start seeing more of Monty?
Yeah, I think so. I think Monty's gonna have to be heavily involved because if the cartel is threatening the livelihood of your business, where you have to pump oil on a daily to make your quota, and you have to halt production because your team doesn't want to work because of their fear of their lives. That's gonna fuck with the money, and Monty's
Yeah.
gonna have to be involved. So
And Monty also has a family that the cartel could go after if they get angry enough. So
yeah, absolutely, absolutely. Something happened in episode 5 as well that I want to talk about too, and I think this kind of really put in perspective for Angela what Tommy deals with on a day-to-day
oh
basis.
yeah.
So on the way to go see Monty, they stopped by an oil rig to check in on the order of pipes that came in, and I guess the pipes weren't tied correctly or wasn't whatever.
It's different
And
sizes, yeah, like,
yeah,
all different sizes, and they weren't like sorted like
yeah,
in.
one layer of stacked correctly, and so the guy who was the boss of that particular rig is angry, and he's on top of the pipes, and he's telling Tommy how unhappy he is about the pipes, and he stomps on the pipe once, which I don't understand. You are a veteran rig person, and you're standing on pipes that are not adequately tied together. He stomps on it once, the pipes just kind of just fall apart and fall on top of him, crushing him in the process, like in live action, crushing him. And he knows he's going to die. Like he knows it's a wrap. And the first thing he tells Tommy, like, "Hey, please, man, can you get my phone?" And his phone is in the rubble somewhere. And Tommy gives him his phone, calls his wife. One of the more chilling scenes in the Taylor Sheridan universe I've seen with all the shows combined. Talk about that scene, Marcy, and like what was going through your mind when you saw that?
I felt so bad again because I was like, "Wait, what are you doing?" And then I was like, maybe he won't die." But I mean, obviously, once you saw like the blood just coming out of his mouth, you know, like, okay, like he's gonna die. Like these pipes were heavy; they rolled over and crushed you. Yeah, that whole scene where he's like, "I gotta call my wife," and he's like, "Just answer," and we don't know if he got a hold of her because then it cuts away to Tommy, and then like when Tommy comes back, guy is already dead. So, um, yeah, that was a tough scene to watch. And then, like we saw in the next episode, episode 6, where Tommy's telling Monty about it, and he's like, yeah, like he was reckless. He shouldn't have been on top of there. Like he knew that like that was dangerous, but we should still again like give him like this much money as a settlement to the wife, because even though like guy was shouldn't have been on top of there, shouldn't have been doing that, like that doesn't make it easy. I think he said like that doesn't make the pill that the wife has to swallow any easier. So um yeah, like that's another one where it's like finding fault with like the employee rather than like the company, but Tommy's still wanting to do somewhat of the right thing and making sure that the family is compensated.
Yeah, and I think too. I mean, of course that's a devastating scene to watch, right? To play out, and it looks so real to me. I think for me, what I got from that scene too was Angela. Like
Yeah.
going to that scene, Angela bitches, moans, and complains about his schedule, what he does for a living, how often he's away, how often he's gone,
Mhm.
and I would have thought going to this episode that she would have known what he does and like day to day and how hard and how dangerous the job is.
Yeah.
And I think when Angela saw that, it put in perspective like, damn, this is my husband really does some dangerous shit. Like I see why he drinks a lot or why he drank a lot. I see why
Mhm.
he is the way he is because this takes a toll on anybody. It's a heavy toll. And I think it gave her a level of understanding that she never had before, which is weird to me because you were married to this man before. You know what he does, but yet you never saw what he does or understood what he does until you
Yeah.
saw the devastation that was put in play. Um, so moving forward, I would like to see how Angela reacts and moves now after seeing that. And then not just that, but like Cooper, like
Yeah.
he was involved in 2 accidents and he got beaten to a pulp. Hopefully that gives Angela more caution and more understanding of like what they do and how it's not a game.
I wondered if like after her seeing that she was going to rethink the whole like let's get back together thing. Like no, this is too dangerous. I'd rather stay with Victor because we have lots of money and like his job is probably not as dangerous, but no, like that didn't make her, that didn't change her mind. But again, we'll see how many more things they might have to go through. And does that change her mind? Does she then want to go back to Victor? Who knows? But I think she still has a little bit more growing to do. Like
Yeah,
even when she got to the hospital, she's like, okay, like I'll be calm, like I'll keep it together for Cooper. And then she freaks out when she sees him. So
right.
it's just Angela, I guess.
Absolutely, absolutely. Marcy, is there anything that you want to cover with 4, 5, and 6?
No, I'm ready to see like what happens next. We know that they pretty much kicked their asses, right? Like Antonio's ass got kicked by Boss and his crew. Manuel also got his ass kicked and is probably going back to prison because he's violated terms of his parole. So, is there any more fallout from there? Do they have some boys that are like, hey, like, no, like, we got to get revenge for like Manny and Antonio? So,
Yeah.
does that also continue? Does the whole Cooper saga continue? Who knows? I think maybe like everybody was scared enough now that Tommy had to take matters into his own hands, but you never know with like men.
Yeah, and Cooper's in pretty bad shape. I would think he'll be on the shelf for a while. Like swollen brain, collapsed lung, pretty fucked up, pretty good. And I don't see him going anywhere near a rig for I would think for the duration of the season. But I guess we'll
Yeah.
see moving forward. Maybe we'll get more Cooper Ariana moving forward. I think I can see Ariana taking care of him and like them getting even
Mhm.
closer now that Cooper
Yeah.
needs some TLC. So we'll see. We'll see where that leads them moving forward as well.
I could
Um,
also see him dying because Taylor already killed off like 3 characters in this first episode,
that's
in the
true.
first episode of the show. So who knows? I don't think it will happen, but I think if that happened, how is Angela going to react? What
Yeah.
does that do to Tommy? Like, yeah, like that would also be interesting. But I don't think that's going to happen. I think Ariana is going to like take care of him, and like maybe that's when love will blossom and
Yeah.
a more shit will go down.
I'm telling you, man, this is some John Smith Pocahontas shit. John Smith gets shot, and Pocahontas takes care of him and like nursing back to health. It's some Taylor Sheridan watched Pocahontas lately, bro, and like got that from Pocahontas.
Probably.
This is some white man finds love in a minority type shit. Like it's
She's
gonna,
gonna have her colors of the wind moment or something.
I'm telling you, bro, it's gonna happen. Well, thank y'all so much for watching our podcast regarding 4, 5, and 6 of Landman. We'll be back in a couple of weeks to cover 7, 8, and 9 as well. Stay tuned for that. Again, for everyone who watches our show, thank y'all so much. For those who watch but don't follow, hit the subscribe button, please. Hashtag road to 500. I think last time I checked was around 427, 428. So let's try to get to 500, man, hopefully by the spring. Let's get it. But we got more episodes coming up before the year's end. We have some Marvel shows coming out. We got a new season of What If that we're going to cover as well. Justin and I covering the Superman trailer that's coming out tomorrow morning around 8 o'clock. So we're going to do it at 10 a.m. Central Time. We're going to do a little breakdown of the trailer, what we think. Next Tuesday, we have the NFL Watchers podcast as well. Check out all audio podcasts on Apple Podcasts, Spotify. Give us a 5-star rating. Again, thank you so much for myself, for Marcy, for Franklin. We see you on the flip side.